Welcome to There's No Place Like Home, the radio show coming to you on WRXB 1590 AM and Pinellas County Connection TV. This program is presented to you as an opportunity to hear information that can help you fulfill the dream of owning your very own home. We also share information about upcoming special events and programs to help you enjoy the good life here in Pinellas County, as well as other items of interest. The sponsor of this program is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County, which offers the First-Time Homebuyers Program, your key to home ownership, helping people in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties make their dreams of home ownership a reality. I'm Frank Bowman, alongside Jane Merlin, your host for today's show. Good morning, Jane. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Frank, and how about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Looking forward to going into our holiday season.
Yes, it's hard to believe that we're already talking about the holidays. Where did this year go?
The older I get, the faster they go by.
I hate to admit that, but that's also happening with me. Do you think that you're a pretty savvy, smart consumer?
I try to be, but there's a lot of information that you need to keep in tune with to maintain that status.
There is, and it's unfortunate that there's a lot of really skilled people out there and not skilled for good purposes. There's a lot of consumer scams out there, and we're going to have a really great guest coming up in a little bit to talk about some tips and ways that you can be a better consumer and make some smarter choices and hopefully avoid some of the scams that are out there. So coming up in just a moment will be Deborah Berry. She's the operations manager with Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services. So make sure you've got a pen and paper handy so that you can write down some of this important information. And before we bring Deborah on, Frank, I know that you have an update from our sponsor.
I do, Jane. The Housing Finance Authority, or as we call them, the HFA, is offering its first-time homebuyers program for individuals in Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties who have never owned a home, have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or who are veterans or active duty service people. The HFA offers a low interest rate on its Home Key First Mortgage, which is a 30-year fixed rate. And if you need a little help with down payment and closing costs, they can help you with that as well with the Home Key Second Mortgage. In addition to the first-time homebuyer program, we would like to remind everyone about Pinellas County's newest housing initiative for veterans, Proud Pinellas. This program offers quality homes at incredibly low prices to qualified veterans. To get your key to home ownership, call 727-464-8210 or visit the website at www.pinellascounty.org/community/HFA. We appreciate your comments and feedback on our shows, and you can call or email us at the Housing Finance Authority at pinellascounty.org. And remember, you can also catch past shows by logging onto the website, and you can watch us on YouTube as well. Jane?
Thank you, Frank. And those are two really great programs for individuals. So if you are a veteran or if you're not a veteran or looking for your first home, a wonderful opportunity for folks.
And the inventory of homes that are available are ones that were purchased from banks that had gone through foreclosure, and they've all been totally renovated, updated with modern appliances and cabinets, and with a lot of energy improvements and hurricane hardening. So they're a great opportunity for veterans who'd like to become homeowners.
Absolutely. Great program. Well, now we've got a very interesting and returning guest. Folks have always tuned in to hear everything that Deborah has to say in making us better consumers. She's going to discuss a number of important tips, and she has actually been with Pinellas County, Frank, for 30 years. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did not.
I think she started when she was 12. And has had a wonderful career with Pinellas County and especially as it relates to protecting us as consumers. She is the operations manager with Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services, and we are so delighted to have her share her expertise and advice on these important issues. So welcome back to No Place Like Home, Deborah.
Thank you so much for inviting me back, Frank and Jane.
Let's begin with an update on some of the current issues or consumer scams that folks need to be aware of right now.
Well, we all know that the Affordable Care Act just became operational, and we're looking at possible solicitations for Obamacare scams out there. Understand that the government will not call you and ask for your personal information. Also, if you're on the internet and you see something that says click here to see if you qualify for the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, make sure you know what you're clicking on, and just don't give strangers your personal information, because people are targeting people looking for information for health care.
What are these folks doing once they get that information?
Committing identity theft, getting IDs in your name, buying products or merchandise with your credit, applying for jobs, or even seeking health care with your information that you gave them.
Scary. Like I said, a lot of skilled people out there, but not using their skills in a good and productive way.
So we just encourage people to proceed with caution.
And I think that's especially important information right now, because a lot of people are still not sure of what's going on with the Affordable Care Act, and they may be desperate to find some sort of information. I'm sure that's why these scam artists are creating these schemes right at the moment.
I agree. And in Pinellas County, people can contact Health and Human Services for information. And you can go to pinellascounty.org, look for departments, and find information there.
And get correct information, yes, instead of some talking to some people who are really trying to do you harm.
Exactly. Now, we talked earlier, it is holiday season, and there are a lot of folks that like to provide donations to charitable organizations, especially during the holiday season, and in fact, even give those as gifts for people on behalf of individuals. And so we know that there's a lot of unsavory folks out there that are doing scams as it relates to donations. So how can we protect ourselves and make sure that the money that we want to contribute is going to an actual organization that's going to help the people that it says it's going to?
First of all, try not to give on impulse. This is your hard-earned money, and you want to give it to a organization that will be using it for the charitable purpose. So if you do find some organization that, hey, they're helping kids, they're helping families, check them out first. There's a Florida gift giver's guide. You can find a link on our website. You can check to make sure the charity is registered to do business in Florida, and also how much of the program services actually goes to the charities. There's been a lot of press about a lot of the money goes to professional solicitors. If you just give, someone calls you on the phone, you don't know who they are, and you say, here's $500. Well, probably about $450 goes to the professional solicitor versus the charity. And it's always a good idea to give locally, because you can see where your money's being spent.
And you can also give to organizations that you or people in your life have had experience with.
Yes.
At least then you know that they're a legitimate organization, and they are helping people that are your friends and relatives.
Yes, and there's people outside of stores, there's people on corners, there's people soliciting you by mail. Just be cautious and give to, someone that you've checked out and you're comfortable with.
Our business is helping homeowners buy their first homes and do home repairs and things along those lines. And we've got a lot of people out there who may be thinking of buying a home right now, and they want to check their credit and see kind of where they stand from that standpoint. So what advice do you have for folks who may want to check their credit report scores? Because I know that you see a lot of things in the news about checking your credit and free credit reports. How does all that work? How do people know how to get to the right source to get this important information?
And people need to understand that they are entitled each year to one free credit report from the 3 credit reporting agencies. So there's 3 of them. You can get one report each from them every year. Now, there's been a lot of confusion on where do you go. And we do have on our site a consumer's resource guide where you can find the exact site, annualcreditreport.com, to go to find your credit. And it's very important to seek out the exact site, because there's other sites out there, such as Free Credit Report, that will try to charge you. So annualcreditreport.com.
I've been getting at work as well as at home email an invitation to come check out my credit report. Should we be wary of those kinds of solicitations?
You should be wary of any solicitation because you don't know who it's coming from. And even though it may sound like a familiar government agency, you need to verify. And I would start by contacting or going to our website and clicking on the exact site, because you just don't know where solicitations come from, either by mail, phone, or on the internet.
Yeah, I get those too, Frank, and I just delete them when they hit my inbox. And the other thing is with the mail, when I get that kind of solicitation, I shred that stuff.
I certainly do so too.
Yeah. So I guess on a very generalized basis, if somebody's contacting you to provide one of these wonderful services, be leery of it. It's probably not.
Yes.
And so if you want to find your credit report, if you want, and things like that, go to a site that you enter because you know it's a good place to go. And you mentioned the website where people can get these links. You want to share that? We're going to do it many times today.
Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services website is www.pinellascounty.org/consumer, and look for the Consumer Resource Guide on the right. It's a downloadable form with exact links to specific agencies you need to check out.
Well, that's very good advice, and I've been out to that website, and it is very, very helpful. And people, again, don't respond to something that's coming into your email mailbox. Be proactive, look up the good information, and
realize that when you get a solicitation, it could come from anywhere in the world. Even though they may have a United States address, does not mean they are located there. They're just using a phony address. Even telephone calls, they can disguise the area code they're coming from. You have no idea where these people are located at.
Are you getting complaints of this nature at Justice and Consumer Services?
All the time, and usually people may have already spent their money and then determined that they could have got a free credit report at the correct site.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Deborah, when you request that credit report, do you know if that affects the score?
It does not affect the score. What affects the score if you're applying for credit at multiple retailers? That is what affects your score. So you're shopping for credit. You do these instant credit cards at stores, that will affect your credit score.
And it will affect it negatively.
Yes, because if you're applying for a home loan, the bank may feel that, hey, you're trying to accumulate a lot of debt.
All right. Well, talking about home ownership and the first step of verifying your credit, and again, if you're seriously pursuing home ownership, you should be talking to a realtor, and they should direct you to some lenders, and let the lenders look up your credit score. Then you have a little bit more assurance that that's a...
And also, it's a good idea to the purpose of the free credit score is that if you are looking for a home, you can plan ahead by looking at your credit, start taking care of some negative information. And also, if there are unauthorized charges on there, you want to dispute those charges, because if you're looking to buy a home, then you may lose that opportunity if your credit is not cleared.
All right, so it's not uncommon to have errors on your credit report.
No, it's not.
And you need to get, so this once-a-year opportunity to take a look at that gives you a chance to clean up the disputed items. Clean up the disputed
items and make sure that somebody has not used your identity to accumulate debt.
That's very good information. And that's, I've heard about this for a long time, but in the last year I've had a couple of, family member and a personal friend that this has happened to, and it's very serious and something everybody really needs to guard against.
And we provide assistance too if you have a problem with the credit reporting agencies, if you have a problem with a collection agency. If that debt is not yours, you should not be harassed. So you could file a complaint with Justice and Consumer Services, and we'll contact the agencies on your behalf.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good.
That is good. Now, there are several other components with home buying, one of which is, and it's highly recommended that people have a home inspection done. What kind of caution should people have in looking for home inspectors?
Look at buying a home as a major purchase, which that it is. Take your time. Go to a home buying class, and so that you understand what's going on, you understand the terms. And you're buying a piece of property, you want to make sure that it's being maintained. You don't want to buy the property and find out, oh, the foundation is falling in, or there's electrical problems. So the best advice I can give you, hire a private inspector and make it contingent upon the sale of a good inspection report. And if not, that's negotiable on who completes the repairs.
Mm-hmm. And are inspectors licensed or certified in any way?
They are certified with the state, so you can check that out too on our form. And you want to make sure that, for my purposes, I would make sure that the person has some type of construction license, has been in the business for a while, so they know what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned homebuyer training courses, and I'll give our organization a plug. The HFA and the Pinellas County Department of Health and Community Services, they actually provide homebuyer training programs. So those phone numbers we handed out earlier, if you're interested in attending one of those classes, you can call up there and find the schedule and get registered. They're all free classes. And then there are several not-for-profits around the county that are providing those as well.
And I look at that as knowledge is power, because you know what you're doing once you go into the transaction. So many people just sign paperwork and don't have any clue of what they have agreed to.
And the other thing about those classes, Frank, as you mentioned, not only is it great information, it really gives you the A to Z process of the home buying process itself, but it provides you with a certificate that is often needed when folks are utilizing down payment assistance programs, such as the one that we have through the HFA.
Mm-hmm.
And those certificates are usually good for a year.
That's correct. And again, the two websites for the two different county departments, great resources to find the correct places to go for this kind of information. Buying a home, as we always mention, is one of the most expensive and important decisions and purchases that we'll ever make. We need insurance. Give us some of your organization's recommendations for searching for and finding best insurance opportunities.
Take the time to understand the insurance process. Of course, you need to hire an insurance broker. They will give you advice, but it's also a good idea to seek out information yourself and make sure that you're getting what you need. There's a lot of discussion about getting insurance for market value versus replacement value. Understand those terms. In the news right now, the flood insurance is a major issue. Mm-hmm. If you live near a body of water, maybe your mortgage lender doesn't require you to have flood insurance, but that's something that you need to think about. Just look at Colorado and the river, and the people were flooded out, and you may lose everything if you don't know exactly what you should be buying.
And of course, the flood insurance has been a really difficult issue and one that still needs to be resolved in some way. There's a lot of people that are suddenly having extraordinary annual insurance costs, and that it could endanger their ability to keep the house. But all of that flood information is also on the county website. There's a lot of very easy links there. Mm-hmm. If you plug in your address, you can find out if you're in a flood area and if you should be concerned about getting flood insurance. Because a lot of the properties are not on the coast. They're not on the Gulf, on the beaches, or on the bay. There's a lot of inland locations that are also prone to flooding, and those maps will show you that information.
And certainly new home buyers need to factor in the insurance costs with the cost of the home. It's not separate, it's together, and it all adds up to how much home you can afford.
Very much.
Well, for the folks that do have a home and may need to do some home improvements, maybe they've been there for a while and want to do some upgrades to the property, let's kind of get into another area, and that is of home improvement scams. What do we need to be watching for?
And I'm going to say the same thing. Cautious of those who solicit you. There's fly-by-night people that are going through the neighborhood offering to do work. Sometimes they want payment up front and they disappear. Sometimes they do shoddy work and you're unable to find them later. So get referrals from family and friends. Do your own due diligence checks by checking the license information. Make sure they have workers' comp insurance. And there's links on the website in the Consumer Resource Guide for that. And also, be present and know what they're doing on your property. Don't just leave a check form and say when you finish, pick up the check. You need to know what's going on.
I find it interesting, too, the number of people that will literally go door to door and say, I'm working in the neighborhood and I noticed, maybe you need some help.
And seniors need to also be very cautious because they're are often the targets. They have people purposely going up and down senior neighborhoods hoping to see somebody out, and then they can stop them and offer to do some work, even if it's just clearing brush. We had a situation at one point where they were intimidating seniors. They'd give them a lowball offer. Once the work was completed, it was double, and seniors were intimidated and paid up front. And it wasn't until we had several instances of this that we could see a pattern and take the appropriate action against those people.
Justice and Consumer Services has been there a very long time, has it not?
Yes, we have, since 1987.
So there's a long history of this being a consumer issue, and this is really an excellent place to go to check things out before you make any kind of decisions about spending money on any of these issues we're talking about. And
one perfect example is the water filtration scams, and often new home buyers are approached to buy water softeners, and the average price may be $2,000 to $3,000, where you could just go yourself and buy one for like $700 at the retail location. So those are the type of situations people are approached about. But if they take time and do some research, they could get a better value.
You really do have to do your homework when you're doing any kind of consumer purchase. And I know that I personally have always utilized your website at Justice Consumer Services for checking the complaint history of a business. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
We have an online database that you can do your own searches on the number of complaints against a business. And with the Consumer Resource Guide, we also lead you to other sites. So for Construction Licensing Board, to see if the person is properly licensed. If it's an insurance type transaction, you can check the Department of Financial Services website. If you're looking for a physician, the Department of Health, make sure the physician is properly licensed. And yes, you do need to check out everybody, because you never know. And also you can see whether or not there's been any actions or sanctions against the license holder.
So that database tells you whether there's been complaints and if they've been legitimate or if they've been resolved.
Well, what we do is if the person wants the further information, we provide the complaint to them so that they can read and get their own understanding. And me as a consumer, especially when you're talking about home buying and home improvement, that's a major purpose. It's worth the due diligence to do the checks. People say, oh, well, I'm not going to come down to review the file, or I'm not going to go review a lawsuit. Yes, you need to do so. If you're spending $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 or more, take your time and check them out.
Well, it could certainly save you some headaches in the long run if you do that, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody come in and do work only to find out that they're not licensed, they're not skilled, and they've made the situation worse than when you began.
And one of the first lessons I learned when I started in this business is that they can be very nice up front and convincing, oh, they're such a nice person, until they take your money. So even though that person seems nice and honest, you need to make sure that they can do the job and that they don't have any prior issues out there.
Very good information. We've been talking about home ownership, but there's also a significant number of people in the county and our listeners that are renting. What kind of advice do you have for folks generally about renting and especially about arrangements for rent to own?
Renting, take your time, shop around like you would do if you're looking for some shoes or dresses. This is not something to do on impulse. So shop around for the best accommodations that you can afford. Make sure you read the lease and understand the terms. And thirdly, you need renter's insurance to protect your personal assets. If there's a flood or something, the landlord is not responsible for your personal property. You need to protect yourself with renter's insurance. Rent-to-own leases, I would be very cautious about that. That is a binding agreement with another individual. Just be cautious, and you may even need to seek legal advice because you're entering into a legal document. And if you're paying the extra $1,000 a month to put on deposit to eventually buy a home, you need to make sure that where that money is being kept in an escrow account, that the other person can't just spend it and say, "Sorry, I don't want to sell you the home anymore."
Well, there's unfortunately still a number of people that are homeowners and are facing foreclosure. What advice can you give folks who are finding themselves in that situation?
When you first recognize the fact that you're having problems with making a mortgage payment, that's the time to seek help. The HUD certified agencies offer money management classes. Maybe they can assist you with a budget so that you can be able to make that mortgage payment. And a lot of people need to realize what's important and what's not important, the haves versus the wants. So start early with seeking assistance. Don't wait till your home has been auctioned to say, "Hey, I need help."
That's true. And, of course, we've talked on past shows about groups that offer to help out, take a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. If you're going to somebody for assistance and they're asking for money, get out of there and go someplace else.
Quickly run away. Yeah, because there are a number of resources out there at no cost,
there are a number of free resources, and one of the keys with these scams is that they solicit the people to say, "Oh, I can help you save your home, but don't make your mortgage payment. Send the money to me." That is a red flag. Seek out free services. Also, for referrals, get referrals from government agencies or HUD certified agencies, not from someone that emailed you or even, a friend. Check it out. Make sure you know who you're dealing with.
And that's actually, that last sentence is what we have to do as consumers. We have to check it out and make sure we know who we're dealing with in all circumstances.
Absolutely. Well, we are quickly running out of time, but Deborah, I do want you to provide us with the website once again so people can find some of this information.
Justice and Consumer Services website is www.pinellascounty.org/consumer, and our telephone number is 727-464-6200.
Awesome information. I wish we had more time because there's unfortunately a lot more subjects out there that we could discuss about protecting ourselves. But thank you so much for the wonderful information.
Oh, thank you both, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Deborah Berry, Pinellas County Justice and Consumer Services. We also want to thank the folks with Pinellas County Communications who produce our show, and Dan's back there keeping us on track. Of course, our friends at WRXB 1590 AM. And we would invite you to join us again next month. And don't forget to contact us if you'd like to have more information about the show or just want to give us some feedback. I'm Jane Merlin.
And I'm Frank Bowman.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember, there's no place like home.